Hello, it's Andy Graham. Go figure. It's the Andy Lee Graham Global Citizen Channel. Okay, I've lived in 114 countries, and I've done this for over 26 years. I'm presently in the United States doing some medical things, so I'm sort of trapped right now. I'm very lucky. I have full coverage insurance, except for a $236 deductible per year. Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham. Okay, today I want to talk about extreme listening. Extreme listening is the idea that you are spending your whole focus on listening and not talking. Okay, and I want to repeat that. The goal here when you're extreme listening is that you're listening and not talking. It's so hard. I'm not sure. There's sort of a bias to believe that if you're talking, you're going to endear yourself to somebody. Like somehow a man in a bar talking to a girl, the more he talks, the more he's going to endear himself with that woman. It don't work that way. The opposite is true. If you watch Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, there's two major points he makes. One is you repeat their name. So if you was talking to me, you would say, okay, what do you think, Andy? Welcome, Andy Graham. You would say these things like that. Or hello, Joe Blow, whatever, right? And you repeat their names. And every time you say, so what do you think, Joe? What do you think, Harry? What do you think, Larry? And you repeat the names. And then you look at the person. Okay, but in the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, he wants you to listen, okay? Because contrary to what you think, you're not going to entertain somebody to liking you. Okay, that's not the way it works. It does sometimes work when there's three people and two people are having a conversation and another person's over listening in over the conversation, but not really in the conversation. But if you're having a conversation with one person, the person that is probably the most respected is the one that talks the least. Kind of got to be a John Wayne about it, okay? Now, this is hard for people because I'm not sure all the reasons why it's hard. In some ways, a shy person or a introvert sometimes seems like the smartest person because they don't open their mouth and prove to anybody that they're not very clever, right? And the less you talk, the smarter you appear because the more you talk, the worse it is. But when you're listening to somebody, when I was in Indiana University, I didn't go to Harvard. I just gave a talk there at the Bloggers Club. That's why I got this shirt. I got a little circle through it. It's a really nice, warm shirt. Okay. When I was in the university, my girlfriend, Judy, talked me into going to this suicide prevention thing where you basically would answer the phone and talk to a person that was thinking about killing themselves. And I went through the class and I did it. I never did the actual thing. She did do it until there was a lot of men call up these services for strange conversations. That's why she finally quit. Well, I won't tell you what the strange conversation is, but these guys will be doing things. But there's all sorts of crazies out there. Okay, I'm not supposed to call them crazy, but they're crazies. Okay, sometimes what you want in a person is authentic, honest thinking, because authentic, honest thinking will keep a conversation vibrant. It will make it real. It will make them trust you. If you say cliche things, platitudes, things to make them think, or you basically say things that you believe they want to hear, you're going to lose respect. Okay? Nobody goes along with it. I mean, they used to ask me what the best line for a girl is. The best line is no line. If you want to endear yourself with a woman, you tell her the truth. If you want to endear yourself with a man, anybody, you tell them the truth. We emotionally feel this. Okay, now some people have low self-esteem, and if you suck up to them and you make them feel powerful, they just by repeating back what they say or mimicking their behavior. Because like if they're crossing your arms, you cross your arms. In the body language, you open your arms. If you look at them intently, these are things that body language tools to endear yourself with somebody. Don't get me wrong, body language is much easier to fool somebody. Okay, so be real careful on body language. Some people will always be nodding their head. Maybe they got Thorazine, but you gotta in this suicide prevention thing. What I learned is that you have to listen with extreme listening, and you got to remove yourself out of the scenario. The goal is to get the person to talk by asking open-ended questions. Okay, an open-ended question is, so what do you think? How's today going for you? Did you have a good day? And not say, you can't ask a question. That's an open-ended question. Is your car red or black? Or that's too simple. Tell me, do you like where you work? And they can say yes. That's the wrong question. See, anything that they can say yes or no to is not a very good, open, extreme listener. Okay, but some points here, and I'm going to go through some of these because when I sold real estate, people think I have verbal diarrhea, which I do. Okay, I talk endlessly, and I can talk forever, and I basically am talking for many reasons, mostly because when I take the abstract thoughts in my brain and I put them into words, they become real. Okay, abstract, chaotic thoughts, when spoken, have to appear real, cogent, consistent to the listener. That's why it's good to journalize or talk to videos. Okay, but some things I'm gonna try to go through some points here. When you're talking, the person asking the questions is controlling the conversation. Okay, so a lot of times, they'll ask a question and you can just say yes or no, and then they'll go into a big long diatribe. Excuse me, a big long oration on what they want to talk about. They're not really trying to ask you a question to listen. When you ask a question, you have to pause and wait for the answer. If anything in life, wait for the answer. If you find yourself interrupting a person continually, or you're forced to interrupt the person continually, it's a problem. Okay, there's people that never take a breath between their things, which I'm not sure what the goal is there. I'm not really understanding why they're that way, and I think about it all the time, but I really don't. But the person asking a question is controlling. So when I was selling real estate, I was a very quiet person in a lot of ways. I would give very articulate, clean answers, quick answers, and but I would keep them short. Okay, people, after I'd say about 10 words in a sentence, their brain just starts to wonder. Okay, so anything longer than a very short sentence is difficult for people to stay with. Okay, there's people that can listen for hours and stay a thing. But the best thing to do when listening, extreme listening, is pretend the person is going to kill themselves, and that you're very cautious, because this is, I think Kurt Vonnegut was saying, don't be sloppy with the way you say things. Okay, don't be casual with your comments. Snarky, always putting a twist on. When somebody says something, then you reply back with a twist. That's a good way to lose friends. Okay, it's really a habit that a lot of people have. That it's banter between two best friends. You can do that between best friends because you've known each other and you got a history. If you're just meeting a person, you don't do this banter or trying to put a sly twist on what they say. This is really a control thing that you're doing to try to prove that you're intelligent, and it doesn't work. Okay, but pretend they're going to kill themselves, and if you said something wrong. Now, a person, if you lie to a person that's going to kill themselves, they will kill themselves. Okay, you cannot lie. Lie is felt. People think that they can lie. Very few people are capable of lying and doing it in a sociopath way with no guilt. Now, there are 1 in 50 people that are sociopaths. Often they're business owners. Do not agree. Do not give cliches. Do not give what goes around comes around, platitudes, and all these things. Just be a good listener. Okay, and then the first thing you do is always look for clarification by repeating back what they say. So if somebody said to me, I got in my car today and I drove to Fort Wayne. I said, okay, so you went to Fort Wayne today. Okay, I'm going to repeat back what they said. But honesty is so important. And very few people, I would say less than 1 in 50 people actually has the capacity to be brave enough to be honest with somebody, because being honest is a sense of intimacy. It's not sexual intimacy, it's personal intimacy, and that is very painful for them because they're going to have to feel what the other person feels. That's what you're doing, right? You're being an empath. You're being Deanna Croy, being a betazoid. You're having discernment from the Bible. But you got to be. But the one getting listened to needs to feel empowered. Okay, now, don't get me wrong. I do not like to have conversations where I have to have extreme listening. I want complete equality where I can give ideas and they can give ideas and we can exchange things. And I'm looking for a 50-50 sharing of the talking. I used to have this friend, Doug, in Lake Athlone, and I told him I had one of these things on my phone. It was for chess, and it had a 3-minute count. I said, I would put it on there, and I'd hit it. You got 3 minutes. Because he would tell 20-minute stories. And I said, Doug, come on, please. You gotta learn the art of talking is to talk, like in 3-minute stories, okay? You can't tell 15, 20-minute stories unless you're on, like right now, I could tell a 20-minute story, but I'm not going to do it. But the one, sadly, or greatly, or the best thing to understand is the person that says the least is normally respected the most. Okay, so if you want to be respected, you want to be in control, you're asking questions, very short questions, open-ended questions, and you're listening. The more you listen, and then the more you interact on eye contact, and the more you nod your head, wink your eye, do whatever, the better it is. But then you elaborate and ask little leading questions to keep the conversation going. But they want to feel appreciated, that they have value. And this is where people ingratiate themselves. Ingratiation is the word that means to brown nose, to put your, to suck up to the teacher. Very few people really enjoy it. The richer they are, the less they like that. Anybody that's sitting around. So if you really want to be with the rich and famous, you're going to have to learn to be honest. And that is the reason why few people get to that stage, because the rich and the famous get tired of the crap, listening to the crap. But what is it? Ben Carson says you can be a purple rhinoceros and blah, 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 whatever. And with knowledge, you can open any door. Okay. But the truth is, with honest listening is going to open the door. Talking is seldom going to open the door. But they will say you're a great. I've had people that I haven't said more than 20 words to said I was one of the best. They had the best conversation ever with me. And that's what you want. You want to say 10 words, and they think that you are the smartest person there is because you was extreme listening. But there's some psychological benefits to allowing another person to talk. There's a psychological benefits to me talking. It's very cathartic or revealing or basically my brain is just a mush of a bunch of strange thoughts, chaotic, rumbling around in there. And when I say them, they have to come out clear. And don't get me wrong, I'm sort of dyslexic and I can reverse sentences and I'm not easy to listen to. I understand that. I know that. I am not capable of doing what a lot of people doing and I'm not going to spend hours making a video. I turn it on and I turn it off. I don't do it. Oh yeah, you shouldn't do that in front of the camera, waving your hand or sticking your nose, putting your hand in front of your mouth when you're making a video. Waving your hand in front of the camera is real annoying to the reader. They do that on Zoom meetings, and I'm trying to get them to go, control the hands. But there's a psychological benefit to taking a chaotic thinker and allowing them to talk until the chaos becomes clarity. Serenity is clarity. I found that over and over. If you really want to be calm, you need to be clear on what you're thinking. That means a simpler version. What is it? Einstein said, if you can't explain it clearly to a sixth grader and make a sixth grader understand what you do, you really don't know what you're talking about. Okay, but there's clarity and organization of thoughts by allowing them to talk. There's an emotional relief and catharsis by letting somebody talk. Validation and empathy. Empathy is allowing them. Now, be careful here on empathy. Most people want sympathy. Sympathy is going to destroy a person. Sympathy or allowing them to be a victim is letting them self-destruct. Don't get me wrong. If somebody just got raped or they just got in a car accident, you got to give them sympathy for the first day or two. Then after that, you shift to empathy. It's going to give insight development. A reduction of cognitive load. That means that there's going to be a weight off their brain. Cognitive means to think. Improved emotional regulation, increased self-awareness, encouragement of problem solving. See, when they say it out loud, half the problem is halved by saying the problem. Okay, a lot of people have problems that they never say them, and you can't solve a problem unless you state the problem first. So a lot of times I get a lot of people thinking I'm very negative because I'm talking about the problem first. I said we haven't even defined the problem, and you're talking about the solution. A good solution is when you're part of the solution and part of the problem. See, you want to hear the problem first, and then you want to do it. But if you don't have if the person doesn't have the capacity to say the problem in a very slow and succinct and clear way, they're not going to get to the second step of solving the problem. Normalization, mindfulness, coping mechanism. Okay, extreme listening. What is that? Be fully present. That means you're looking at them. You're not playing on your phone. Anybody that starts playing on the phone with me, when I'm talking to them, I erase them from my world. They have no respect for anything. My brother-in-law is drilling on the wall. I swear, there is never-ending noise. Maintain eye contact. If you can't look a person in the eye, I don't know. You're going to have to work on the mastery of something. You're going to have to work on your self-esteem. That's saying that if you're not looking at somebody and you're doing one of these things, you're having personal problems, and you really have to do it. You need somebody like me to listen to you till you feel empowered. Okay. Avoid nonverbal cues. I mean, that's like looking around or looking over at the tree or something like that. I do it when I don't like a person because I'm trying to get them to go away. Avoid interrupting. This is the number one problem people do. They interrupt the other person. They don't let them finish the sentence. You let them finish the sentence, you give a pause. Listening without judgment. I don't agree with that one. You've got to be honest. Okay? You don't agree when you don't agree. Okay? To agree when you don't agree is a lie, and you're going to lose all intimacy by doing that. Reflective listening, ask open-ended questions. I can't believe it. My Skype is ringing over there. Show empathy. Avoid planning your response. They do this in AA. They go around the room and the people spend their whole time thinking about what they're going to say instead of listening. Alcoholics Anonymous, they go around the room and each person gives an opinion. And they're not actually listening to anybody. But that's kind of the value of Alcoholics Anonymous, is you want the person to think about what they're going to say. And you want them to take a catharsis and take their chaos and explain it. Avoid use silence effectively. That means listen. Keep your mouth closed. Pay attention to tone and emotion. If anybody knows me, they know that I listen first to the tone of voice and the way they say it, and I listen to the music of the voice. And if that person's saying it in a snarky way or an accusory way, or they're saying it in a way that is trying to infer that I'm stupid, I just stop talking. I don't talk to that person. Minimize distractions. Like right now, there's a drill going in the background. I hope you guys can't hear that. Avoid comparisons. Don't always look at your story and compare it to theirs. Let them tell their story and don't try to one-up them with your story. One-upping is a domination thing. Mirror body language. That means if they got their arms open, if you want to, you just basically do the same as them. Provide, ask for clarification, be patient. Most people are never going to be consultants or counselors because they have no patience. They think that a person should already know what they want to tell them. I mean, when you're a consultant, what you're doing is you're taking a very unclear person and you're trying to make them clear. And it's very tough to be a consultant because it's not about helping them to get my goal. It's helping them to get their goal. Okay. And that goal can be totally different than mine. Avoid, here's one, refrain from multitasking. Again, this is like somebody talking on the phone when I'm talking to them, or they're washing the dishes and they're walking around and they're doing all these things and I hear clatter in the background. I normally just say, well, I got to go. Okay, because that person's not capable of concentrating. Okay, and I'm not in the business of saving everybody's life. Okay, I'm not here to just be I remember this guy, Steve, he told me he was going to study French while talking to me on the phone, and I just hung up on him. I said, this has got to be the absurd, studying French. To learn a language is all about kind of rote memory. He had no empathy, no understanding, no ability to understand how insulting that was. Okay. Notice repetition. When people are talking, when you're extreme listening, repetition of phrases means they're important. Okay. Important phrases are repeated over and over. But see, when you got somebody that's really smart, like Robert F. Kennedy, he's going to do real good. If you got somebody that's very manipulative, like President Obama, he's going to say change. We want change and change. And he's going to be like a preacher. You got to say things 3 or 4 times over to a group of people at church. But very intelligent persons very seldom going to repeat themselves. And then the person that's talking to is going to ask questions to clarify. Stay neutral. Again, I totally disagree with that one. What I did a chat GPT thing. Give me 50 things of an extreme listener. Be neutral. That's a lie. Again, very few people know how to lie, and Chat GPT's basically woke. It's going to be a white lie platitude maker. That's what it is. That's why Chat GPT's very dangerous to use, because it lacks in authenticity. Be aware of your biases. Now that's a great advice. Okay, we have biases. Like I'm always laughing because if you're going to just sit there with your dog and make me listen to you talk to your dog while I'm talking to you, I'm leaving. Okay, because the dog doesn't speak English, and you really are anthropomorphism. You're putting human characteristics into your dog. I have no problem with you talking to your dog. I have problems of you thinking that some reason that dog understands all that stuff. That means to me that you're not very intelligent. and therefore I should stop talking to you. Avoid defensive responses. Acknowledge the speaker's courage. Now, that's a good one. I often say life is good. Why do I say life is good? When I sold real estate, at the end of every conversation and the way they were leaving, I say, we're going to work this out. Don't worry. We'll work it out together. I'm not going to say I'm going to fix your problem. I'm always we. What's that? Virgin Airlines, what's his name? He always says that. If you listen to certain speakers, they say we 10 times more often than they say I. It's interesting. Henry David Thoreau, one of my heroes, in his book, he apologizes for saying I. Avoid overreacting. There's some people that are so ambient that they basically wave their arms around and do all this stuff when they're listening. You can allow the person talking to be that way, but when you're listening, you're looking at them and listening. Okay. Follow up later. If the person has a extremely emotional thing, you chat back. I'll give you a funny story. I called up this guy Nathan today. That's extremely wise man. He's a Amish guy, and I'm talking to him about. Building a tiny home for me, a 20 by 20 foot square, 400 square foot home with a pergola around it and whatever. And I'm going to go to his house. And so he told me the address over the phone. And I said, please text message me the address also to make sure that we don't have any problems. And so even though he told me on the phone and I wrote it down, he understood that there's mistakes made. He's a carpenter. He understands that you measure twice, cut once, okay? You measure twice, cut once when you're constant, because one mistake is a very expensive thing. But what was interesting is I sometimes with the very conscientious people, you have trouble being the last one. So he sent me after we got off the phone, he text messaged me his address so I could go there. He's going to have a family, his wife's wedding anniversary. He's Amish. And so Friday he's taking off. So I said, hey, understand that family's important. I wanted to validate that his family was important. And I said, if you have any problem with your wife or whatever, you're going to take her out early or the plans change, just cancel and we'll go the next week. But I'm going on Thursday because he's taking off Friday to spend with his wife. And it's kind of interesting. And he sent me, so we got off the phone. We arranged the appointment. Very functional person, very good business guy, very thing. I called him at 6:30 in the morning because he's a construction guy. A construction guy that isn't awake at 6:30 is not a very good construction worker. Okay. And then you got to be up about 5 o'clock. You got to be up about 2 hours before the sunrise. Okay. So I called him and we arranged to get together. He sent me the thing. I get off the phone. Boom. He text messages me the address. He's got all the contact information, not just the address. He gave more than expected. And then I wrote back, life is good. Thank you. And of course, he's very conscientious. So he texts back again, like, I don't know, an emoji, something like thumbs up or something like that. This is how functional people work. A dysfunctional person they'll say, yes, I will text message you the address. And then they say to themselves, I'll get around to it later. That's a dysfunctional thing. Anybody that ever says, I'll get around to it them later, when it takes less than 5 minutes and you don't do it right then, you're proving to me that you're highly dysfunctional. Okay, a functional person is going to say, this is less than 3 minutes. It's like I make videos and I like to publish the video immediately after I do it. Now, this is tough to do, not because it's hard to keep erasing the videos that have already been published and keep them organized. But there's an art to everything. There's a functional way to do it and a dysfunctional way to do it. But setting up an appointments, like I had like 6 appointments a day, and I had 60 phone calls a day, and I had to keep these all organized when I was selling real estate. I did it with my eyes closed, and I'd be sitting in a coffee shop drinking coffee and talking to friends. And boom, I spend half my time in between appointments stopping at all the local watering holes and having fun. I didn't drink, but I was drinking coffee, and I'd get to know everybody. I had all these different places where I could stop all through the city of Fort Wayne. But use appropriate humor. What does that mean? Don't be snarky. Do not twist words. Do not do comebacks. Do not try to be one up the person. Do not try to think that you're their best friend. Do not do that unless you are their best friend. These things are it's amazing how many people create enemies just because they talk too much. We had a guy came down to Lake Atalan one time, and he kept repeating the same stories about the Philippines. We're in Guatemala. And he's talking about the Philippines. And finally, my friend was counting. He's the one that taught me. He would hold up 7 times I've heard this story. 8 times I've heard this story. And sometimes that's a polite way of saying you're repeating yourself. Okay. But when a lot of people have no future story, therefore the only thing they can tell you is a past story. That's sort of a sign of an aging person. They start doing this, and you really do have to listen, okay, and allow them to tell their stories over and over and over again, because it's the only way they're going to have a reality of value. So everything's about loving yourself, loving them as you'd love yourself. If you start to say the story over, you can say politely, hey, it's a repeat. But learn to be diplomatic when you're starting to hear the same story over and over. There's reasons why people repeat things. Normally, it's because they have a lot of stress and they got to think it through, and they're saying it out loud again and again and again until they get tired of that. Okay, I am in the United States. I have an aneurysm in my chest. It's a little saccular one, and it's pretty scary. Hey, I'm going to go to the doctor soon. Life is good, guys, but please, if anything you could ever learn in life is to keep your mouth closed. I just sent this video to everybody. Denzel Washington said 11 things that we learn too late in life or something like that. Really good speech. I watch a lot of videos on how to communicate, because everybody, the number one thing is 99% of people think they're good communicators, and only 1% actually is. Now, don't get me wrong. Being honest is a great way to have somebody fall in love with you, and a great way for people to hate you. People really do want you to lie to them. But find the people that want to tell the truth to you and make them your friend. Okay? And anybody that you feel is just telling you what you want to hear, they have no value in your life. They're not going to make you a better person. They're basically just what do they call it? Sycophant or sycophants or whatever. Somebody that sucks up to you all day. That's not a valuable person. They are not helping you. And if you have a counselor or a psychologist or something that does this kind of stuff and lies to you, or a doctor, ghost them. Get rid of them. What you want, what they're selling when you're consulting, what you're selling is the truth. A doctor is a consultant. An accountant is a consultant. A lawyer is a consultant. Anything less than the truth. But if they say these little patronizing things to just make you happy, erase them. That type of person is dangerous, and they often play on the emotional weaknesses of the person. Anybody you see doing this to another person, purposely lying to another person, just realize there's no real reason to be their friend. Okay? We have so few friends in life. I have no clue. There's no shortage of people on the planet. But the reason why people don't want to go out in public anymore, they don't want to do anything, is because they spend their whole time lying to everybody and everybody lying to them. There is an art to finding friends. I wrote a book, I was going to get the book, but I'm too lazy right now. I really I love to make these videos, but I don't like to work very hard. I like to just turn on the video. Um, how to make friends. I wrote a book. I've got 5 books I wrote, but one of them is about make friends. Really simple handbook on how to make friends. Okay, it's like the chapter that Dale Carnegie didn't write. See, he's assuming that you're already talking with the person. He doesn't say how to open a conversation. I got 25 points on how to open a conversation. And a dog is one of the chapters in it. You have a dog or you have children. It's a great way to open a conversation. But it's also a great way to lose a conversation with me because they're talking to their dog. I don't believe people, but it's sadness to me because the intimacy that a lot of people have is only with their dog, and they don't have intimacy with people. When your best friend is your dog, and truly your only best friend, we need to have a long conversation. You need to, in my opinion, get a life, okay? And a person that only feels true love from their dog hasn't went to the second level of life. You can have friends that you really respect and you really talk to if you're honest. So many people come from families where nobody's telling the truth ever, and it's the epidemic on the planet. It's a pandemic. Everybody says anything they want that anybody wants to hear to just get off the phone or stop talking. We need to stop this. We need to man up, woman up, become a brave person, and be proud of yourself. Andy Lee Graham, become a patriot.